You are in for a real treat in this episode. We are still in northern Italy, but this episode we are taking you to a city that isn't as popular as some of the others, and we just can't understand why. Trieste is a gorgeous city on the Italian Riviera, and it offers so much to visitors. This week we will tell you all about the unique history which is linked to Austria. We take you up the highest point of the city and then walk back down to the main plaza, which is one of the biggest and impressive in Europe. We wander along the marina and, surprise, surprise, we find a very nice rooftop bar. Then we take you to Trieste, jewel of the crown and national treasure, the Miramare Castle. Listen as we were totally gobsmacked at the interior and then even more so with the gardens. It was absolutely amazing. Listen to the end as we take you walking along the waterfront and find some cafes and bars on the Italian Riviera. And also in this episode, we share a fantastic review we received from a listener who tells us how we helped him plan his holiday. Oh, and I do have a bit of a rant about a cancelled tour, which left me pretty disappointed. Trust me, this episode will have you wishing you were on the Italian Riviera in Trieste and will definitely have you adding it to your bucket list.
Cheers! And welcome to the Beach Travel Wine Podcast. We are your hosts. I'm Leanne.
And I'm Lyle, and this is the travel podcast for beach-loving, wine-drinking couples over 50.
So if that sounds like you, grab yourself a drink, sit back, relax and listen as we go travelling the world, one wine at a time.
Cheers.
Buongiorno.
Ciao, baby.
Hello and welcome back to the Beach Travel Wine Podcast. We are in Italy. Still, lucky us. And today's podcast, we are coming to you from the Italian Riviera city of Trieste. Now, most people call it Trieste, but the locals and us Italian speakers, we say Trieste.
Sì, Trieste.
And it's a magical city. Actually, it's beautiful. But we started our trip to Trieste from Venice, didn't we?
We did. So we we left on Friday, the 14th, and we caught a water taxi from the Foscari Palace to the railway station. It was €70 for the water taxi. So that wasn't cheap, but it was wet and it was just really convenient. So we did that.
That's right. I was going to say we would normally not have done that. There's a public one you can get on for a couple of euro, or it's only really a 20-minute walk. However, it was pouring rain and you've got your suitcases and everything. It was just, and the water taxi, as we said in our Venice podcast, just pulls right up to the front door. And
well, actually, it's sort of like I suppose it is the back door or front door. Anyway, it's a little jetty that pulls up to, and it's really convenient. Yeah, and we sort of walked out of the front of the palace early, and he was waiting for us.
So we get to the train station early.
Yeah, we were there for about an hour early.
That's unlike us.
And anyway, Leanne saw a lady near a ticket machine, so asked her whether or not we could change to an earlier train. And she said, you need to go to the office. We went to the office, and there was a lady there. It was almost like she was waiting for us.
Yeah, it was too easy, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was so easy, and they were so pleasant and so friendly.
And then so we hop on the train, and it leaves right on time. But interestingly, we spied our new friends that we made, and they were on the same train. They'd already booked on the early ones.
Yeah, Tracy and
Harry. So that
Harry.
Was a nice surprise.
Yeah. Anyway, it took about 2 hours.
Yeah.
The scenery was fabulous.
Well, it started off in Venice. You couldn't see anything because it was pouring rain.
Yeah.
Yeah, but by the time we got out into the countryside, it was
Let's focus on the positives.
Yeah, the vineyard. Well, I was just about to get to the vineyards. It was beautiful. That's right. I mean, you went from the rainy train station, and as soon as you got into the country, it was beautiful, and especially that last 20 minutes coming in.
Yeah, which is right along the coastline. It was it was fabulous. It was really good.
Yeah, I loved it.
Now the one of the things to point out it was only a regional train, so it wasn't a fast train. So with your bags, there's not a great deal of room. There's a luggage rack above your head.
Yeah.
And
if you're strong enough, you can lift it.
Yeah. I got one of ours up, but I wasn't game to put Miss World's up because you imagine why. So, but just be aware of that.
But because there wasn't too many people on the train, we were able to, put it in front of us and put some stuff on the seats in front of us because they were facing each other. So that was fun.
Sure.
Yeah. So we arrive in Trieste at the train station, and it's about a 6-minute walk to our accommodation. But before we talk about that, do you want to tell us a little bit about about Trieste and why it's such a unique sort of Italian city, Don?
Well, Trieste lies in the northernmost part of the high Adriatic in northeastern Italy near the border with Slovenia. Slovenia lies approximately 8 kilometres east.
And Croatia's close too.
Yeah, Croatia's
about 30 k's or something.
Yeah, 30 k's from the city. The city has a long coastline and it's surrounded by grassland forest and karstic area. Now, I'd never heard of karstic area, so as I do, I looked it up. Basically, it's limestone, and because limestone's porous,
it's hard to grow anything. So.
Well, it's hard to grow anything, but also the water can seep down through it, and so that also makes it difficult to grow anything.
What's the population of Trieste?
I wonder when you were going to ask me that. 204,500 approximately.
Yeah, okay.
The city has a long coastline and is surrounded by, we've just said that. Trieste is a deep water port, is a maritime gateway for northern Italy, Germany, Austria, and Central Europe. It is considered the end point of the Maritime Silk Road, with its connections to the Suez Canal and Turkey. The city lies at the intersection of Latin, Slavic, and Germanic cultures, where Central Europe meets the Mediterranean Sea.
Yeah. Okay.
So, when we first got here? What really, we walked out of the train station, and what did you see? What did you?
Well, I was trying to follow my Google Maps, but I mean, you mean the buildings?
Yeah.
Yeah. It reminded me a bit of Paris. I haven't been to Austria, but it has a lot of Austrian influence because they were, the Austrians they're an Austrian country city for a few centuries, weren't they? So So it's got that sort of European influence in the buildings, hasn't it?
Yeah, I think it's about 7 centuries.
Yeah.
Well, that's what blew me away, was the architecture, which is so different. But as you say, it was only a short walk. We got to the apartment. What did you think of the apartment?
Well, I was pretty happy with the apartment. We could both come up in the lift, though, such a tiny little lift. And me and my suitcase could only fit in, and then you come up. So the 7th floor, we come in. It's big. It's got a separate bedroom and lounge room area and a dining area, kitchen, big bathroom. And the thing I did love about it was we've got 2 balconies, and these are actually balconies, not just like a little frame around a window that opens. Huge balconies, like meters and meters and meters. With, I'm sitting here actually looking out over the balcony now, and I can see, the beautiful buildings and architecture, and then the Adriatic Sea beyond that. So the views are amazing. So yeah, very, very happy. There's a couple of things with the unit. We couldn't find a PowerPoint in the kitchen to make a cup of tea. So we've been boiling the jug in the lounge room. But that's okay. It's been plenty warm enough too. It's got aircon and heating, but we haven't needed that, have we?
No, that's right. And the other thing is that right next door to us, the building's being renovated.
Yeah.
So just a little bit of a warning: if all of a sudden you hear the jackhammers in the middle of this podcast, you'll just have to put up with it because we can't do anything about it.
Yes, and we're just going to keep going because you don't know when we get another chance to record a podcast. So let's now talk about what we did when we got to Trieste. When we left our gear at the apartment, we were keen to explore, and so we headed down. We were both able to get in the lift this time. I think it's a slower lift than the one we've got at home. I thought our lift was the slowest one in history. And we headed out, and about, I was going to say 300 metres, but it wouldn't even be that fast, probably 3 blocks away from the apartment is one of the main sort of areas, or the beginning of the main areas of the old town, etc., of Trieste. And the first thing you sort of come across is the huge church, San Antonio, with the massive columns on one side in front of that little San Antonio plaza. And then right in front of you was that Serbian temple, which is, you know, covered in mosaics and another imposing building right there, straight ahead of you. So you've got the church to your left, you've got the big temple in front of you, and then to the right is the Trieste Grand Canal.
Yep.
Surrounded by cafes and bars and restaurants.
Yeah, I'd have to question
Our sort of town.
I'd have to question the Grand Canal.
Well, that's what it's called, after the Grand Canal of Venice, sure.
Venice, but yeah, and that was basically built back in the day so that the ships or the boats that were delivering produce and everything else could get closer into the middle of town, the centre of town. Yeah. But yeah, look, it's really a nice place, and we dined there dined off the Grand Canal 3 times.
3 nights in a row.
3 nights in a row, so it was pretty nice.
And I have some really beautiful photos of the temple and the church, but also the Grand Canal in the day, but also at night. So check that out on Beach Travel Wine podcast notes that go along with this episode. And I'll tell you what number it is, but I've forgotten. It's getting very confusing, the numbers. But you'll find it. It's the only Trieste podcast that we have on our website. It's episode 54, actually. There we go. So that's where we started with our little walk around, didn't we, Don?
Yeah, and that's in the Piazza della Borsa.
Della Borsa. Okay, yeah, fair enough. That's where the Grand Canal is. Oh, yeah. So it's quite a big area to wander around. Like they've got like a little kids merry-go-round happening, and you know the first day they had some market stalls set up, and you never know when they're going to pop up all over the city, don't they? Those little plazas, and so then little market stalls,
sure.
And they're fresh produce, just they'll be in one of the malls, or they'll be in the squares there, and they've got the most amazing looking asparagus I have ever seen in my life. Anyway, we're not cooking, so I didn't buy any. So we then headed off. We had some lunch, did we? I think we did.
Yeah, we did. We had some lunch. We had the lunch was at the Via Soli Cafe. Via Soli Cafe. It was €26. We just got a sandwich to share, and we had a couple of beers. I think. We did. A couple of due beers, 2 beers.
Well done.
Now, the food was great, and the thing was that at this particular cafe, you had one area was self-serve, and another area was table service. Yeah. But yeah, it was really nice.
And then we went on to the main plaza of Trieste. It's a massive, big plaza.
It is the Piazza Unita d'Italia.
Yeah, so the United Italian Plaza.
And that's about 12,000 square metres.
Yeah, it's massive.
Size.
Once again, I've got some beautiful photos of that day and night, and there's a great big statue in front, and it's just these massive buildings, government buildings.
It's very, very impressive. It's the buildings are just outstanding, and they're basically the government building. There's the municipal council building, which was originally the Lloyd's Shipping Company building, but it's just
restaurants and
and below those buildings are basically restaurants now. In fact, there's Harry's restaurant. Yeah. So call out to Harry Jones.
There's a couple of those Harry restaurants around town, I saw.
Yeah. Now the other thing is, what we were lucky enough that there was what they call the Trieste Opacina, which is a sports car and vintage car race.
Yeah.
Now
and you'll see some photos of the vintage cars.
Okay. And it was the first race was in 1911, and anyway, about 1970s they stopped the race because the cars became too powerful for the local area. And it just became too dangerous.
Yes.
But back in 1982, they reintroduced it. It's a real big deal in Europe, this particular race.
And so we happened upon it at the end of the race.
Correct.
And there were all the little old, vintage cars all lined up in this big plaza. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was a pretty pretty impressive sight, wasn't it?
Yeah, so to make it more safe now, they don't do, because it was a downhill race and all this sort of thing, but now to make it safer, they only have like sections of the road where the race takes part, so just in the safe areas. So
one thing we didn't mention about this beautiful piazza is, we're talking about the buildings that surround it and the big statue in the middle, but the fourth side is, so it's surrounded in three sides by buildings, and on the fourth side it's open to the water, the Sea.
Trieste Gulf.
Yeah, okay. So it's a very, very impressive area to wander around. History and beautiful, wasn't it?
Talking about history.
I was, yes.
I'm going to give you. I'm going to give you a bit of a read now. It's during the 13th and 14th centuries, Trieste became a maritime trade rival to the Republic of Venice.
Yes.
After it committed a perceived offence against Venice, the Venetian state declared war against Trieste in July 1368, and by November had occupied the city. Now, Trieste belonged to the Habsburg monarchy from 1382 until 1918. So, yeah, that's about it's about 600. Yeah. So it was for a long time. In the 19th century, the monarchy was one of the great powers of Europe, and Trieste was its most important seaport. As a prosperous trading hub in the Mediterranean region, Trieste became the fourth largest city of the Austro-Hungarian Empire after Vienna, Budapest, and Prague. Okay, so Trieste underwent an economic revival during the 1930s, and the Free Territory of Trieste became a major site of the struggle between the Eastern and Western blocs after the Second World War. By the Peace of Turin in 1381, Venice renounced its claim to Trieste, and the leading citizens of the Trieste petitioned Leopold III of Habsburg, Duke of Austria, to make Trieste part of its domain.
Okay, and that's what you're saying earlier, for 600 years.
Right? Yeah, and that also explains, like 600 of the architecture. The agreement of voluntary submission was signed at the Castle of Kras, 30th of September 1382. After the Second World War, it was capital of the Free Territory of Trieste, staying for 9 years under Allied military administration. Following the 1954 London Memorandum, Trieste was annexed by Italy.
Okay, so it's barely only been part of, the reality for... Okay.
Not long at all.
Yeah, and I was just thinking then, when you talk about, the Austrian, rule of the city, you don't see as much of the Roman architecture. There's some bits of it, but there's certainly not a lot, is there?
Yeah, well, I think the old Romans were here in, I think it's got 52 BC until 46 BC. So, but there's that archway, the Riccardo archway, which we saw on the way down from the castle.
As well.
And that's just an archway, and they date back that to about 1 AD.
So after your little walk and you telling us about the history, we finished our day with an early dinner, and we had pasta on the canal. I had pasta and you had chicken curry, I think, and it was our first time of having wine in a jug.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that was dinner at Baratolo.
Yeah, that was a lovely way, and then we just headed home for a very early night. After a great night's sleep in our comfy bed, was really nice actually. Woke up in the morning to a message from Tracy. We were talking about meeting them in Venice and ran into them again on the train. They were actually staying on a cruise ship. Well, they were going on a cruise, but the cruise ship stayed in port in Trieste. So she messaged me to say that they were going on the hop-on bus. It's not hop-on, hop-off. It's just called hop-on, this one. And, at 10 o'clock, and would we like to go? And we were just going to wander and explore. So we thought that was a great idea, didn't we?
Yeah, sure.
And it was cheap, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was €28.
Yeah.
For both of us. So
yeah.
that's around $45 Australian. Look, the tickets were valid for 24 hours. And the coach was beautiful.
Yeah,
it was a really, really beautiful coach.
You normally get on those hop-on, hop-off buses, and they just throw you, give you the earphones, and you've got to, work out which language and how to use that. Well, the lady, sort of the tour guide, I guess.
Hostess.
Yeah, she walked around and made sure everyone could hear and had the right language, and so that was great. So yeah, we got on the bus at 10 o'clock and headed off all the way around the city, didn't we?
Yeah, look, I'll just sort of list the highlights of the actual tour. It's the Piazza Unita d'Italia, which is the main square. You've got significant waterfront buildings, including the aquarium, which is actually closed at the moment. Then there's the Piazza Venezia Musea Rovatella, and Mr. Rovatella is a pretty important person in Venice. In Trieste. We went to past the Piazza San Antonio, the Ponte Rosso Canal Grande, the Castello and Cathedral di San Quisto.
And that was up a pretty amazing hill and through a few tunnels, and there's a big fountain on top of the hill, and the views up there were amazing, weren't they?
Yeah. Well, I think we'll go through that more.
Yeah, but it sounds like we're just going around in a circle.
But,
it's all over.
Well, we sort of were going around in a circle, really, when you think about it.
It's quite a big area we were covering.
Yeah, and then we walked. We drove along, and this really impressed Leanne and I. The waterfront towards the Miramare Castle, which really impressed us.
Yeah, there was an area where the locals walk along the waterfront. They've got like a marina over there, and they've got a lot of quite expensive looking housing up in the hill. Like it's sort of like a big hill looking down over the Adriatic Sea, and they say that that's the most sheltered area in Trieste, and it's just the locals love it. And
I would say it's almost the Paris end of Trieste.
Trieste, yeah. So we did that tour, and we knew that we could get on and off again, but we think we got back and a couple of hours later.
And then we went and had lunch.
Yeah, but I was just going to say, we really rate doing the hop on, hop off stuff. Like I know a lot of people like to do the free walking tours of cities, and that's fair enough. And we've done that too. But this just gives you a real good lay of the land, and I'm so glad that Tracy suggested it, because I hadn't even put that on my radar for Trieste. I don't know why. So we went and had lunch then at the Amazon Cafe, wasn't it?
Yes, it was at the Amazon Cafe. Look,
more sandwiches.
More sandwiches, more cappuccinos, more orange juice. The orange juice was fabulous. Remember?
Yeah.
It was freshly squeezed. But one of the things I got given the bill, and on top of it, it had a coperto. Coperto was the.
Yes, and you asked what it was.
And I said that this is not our bill. It's what's this coperto for? And it was $1.50 each. And buddy, what that is she said that's a service fee. And anyway, when I got home, I looked it up, and when they say service fee, in Wikipedia it says it's for the use of salt and pepper, the olive oil, and the balsamic vinegar. Now, I just thought that was weird.
Well, I don't feel bad about stealing a couple of sachets of sugar then.
Yeah, we did. We stole some sachets of sugar, but it's cheap. It's cheap.
Yeah.
But just be aware, and it's not in all the restaurants. I think it's more so in the cafes that you will get that service charge, and it's anything between €1 to $3. Yeah.
Now, after lunch, we decided that we would get use out of our 24-hour ticket on the hop-on bus, and it was leaving at 2 o'clock, I think it was, and we were going to go up because we didn't really want to walk up to, as I said, it's up a hill, the castle and the church up the top of the hill. Remember? Yeah. What is it? Giusto, isn't it?
Giusto.
Yeah.
So it's
Giusto. Anyway, so we got on the bus and did the first part of the tour, and then we hopped off right up the top. And we did tell him to come back and pick us up, but we walked back downtown, which is another story a bit later on. So up the top of the hill is a lovely sort of big courtyard area. And the first thing I wanted to do was go over and take some picture of the views, down over the city and the rooftops and down to the ocean. And the sun came out, for a little while. So I quickly got some beautiful photos, which you can see on our website at Beach Travel Wine with episode 54, all about Trieste. Don't miss those, because I also got some photos. We wandered around the cathedral and Lars going to give us some information on the buildings themselves, because they're quite impressive, weren't they? It was the first church in town, I think.
Yeah. Well, basically the castle, San Giusto, that was built between 1468 and 1636. From the fortifications and bastions, you can admire the breathtaking vista of the whole city. That's where you can fully appreciate the beauty and greatness of Trieste. In 1382, Trieste came under the control of the Austrians. Empire fell, and basically the Austrians at that time basically said that they needed some sort of fortress, and they also needed somewhere for the captain that was going to look after that to live. So that's where that castle came along.
Okay.
Now the church,
yes,
which is really the Trieste Cathedral, that was built from 1302 to 1320. Is dedicated to Saint Justus, is the Roman, and is a Roman Catholic cathedral.
Yeah. It's not that big, but it's pretty impressive inside.
Sure, it really is. But it looks old, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does look
It
really
looks
old.
really
dark,
old,
it's another dark sort of cathedral.
Yeah. Now, just near there, there's a museum for J.J. Winkleman. Now, J.J. Winkleman was an astrologer, an archaeologist.
Yes.
And his claim to fame was he was basically the father of archaeology. He was able to clarify which, that's his claim to fame, clarify which artifacts came from which region or time periods.
Fair enough.
Look, it was
so you walk down through a garden where there's some Roman ruins, and there's got like a little gallery down there with a crypt of,
well, it's actually a centre path, so it's an empty crypt.
Okay.
So obviously, because he got actually murdered in Trieste.
And they thought they found his bones, but it was mixed up with everyone else's.
Yeah, so that's why it's empty.
But the museum's got all sorts of goodies in it, like ancient Egyptian things as well.
Cypriot, Egyptian.
Yeah.
It's a real collection.
And that's at the bottom of the garden. That you can go and visit that. And after we'd wandered around up there for a while, we decided we'd walk back to town. Yeah.
Yep.
And on our way, we went past, as you mentioned before, the Arch of Riccardo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which was a bit of a bonus. I didn't know we were going to see that. Got a nice little photo of that as well.
Well, the only reason I knew that because I looked at the sign, and there was at the top.
We're not going to forget Riccardo.
Yeah, Daniel.
Yeah.
I saw the sign and it had the Arch of Riccardo, and I thought, and I'd read previously about it, and I thought, I really want to see that. So
we did.
Yes, we did, and then we also.
Yeah, we went on and found another amazing church to look at, didn't we?
We did.
When we were doing the hop-on bus tour, we drove past. You didn't see it because you're on the other side of the bus, chatting away there. But I saw a huge church up the top of like a big staircase, and it instantly reminded me of a church that we saw in Caceres in Spain. And so we were walking back down the hill, and we came across it, didn't we? It's
the Santa Maria Maggiore, which is it was built between 1627 and 1682 by the Jesuits.
Yeah, so it's pretty impressive. It's right up above these stairs, and I got some beautiful photos of that. And inside, I've noticed the pews here are not just plain wooden ones. They're decorated and beautiful. Why
They're
are you-
pieces of art.
Oh, I thought you were.
No, I was shaking my head because I remember you pointing it out, and I'm
Yeah.
thinking,
Yeah,
they
beautiful.
must, I hate to know how much they'd
But
be worth.
here's the thing: we're in this beautiful cathedral in Italy, and we were the only ones there. And I was pretty happy with that, because most places you go are just there's lots of people around. It's hard to get photos, and it was just really beautiful, a nice peaceful moment to enjoy that cathedral.
Yeah, it was definitely the walk down the hill was great.
Yeah.
And really, what did it take us? Maybe 10 minutes.
Yeah,
and
it
we
wasn't
saw
as
all
far
this
as-
stuff.
I wasn't as far as I thought it was, actually.
And then Leanne thought, well...
No, I didn't. I know what you're going to say. You're going to say I was thirsty.
No.
Oh.
You wanted to take some pictures because along the bus route, it goes past the waterfront area where all the yachts were.
Yeah, no. I had something before that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's okay. I know you're excited about the marina. Yes.
There's one particular reason.
I know that. But no, on the way down, we came across an Austrian marching band.
Oh, we did too.
Yeah. So we're just walking back into the main piazza, and I guess it was an army band, because they had their camo outfits on, but they had like the Austrian type hats with the feathers in them, and I watched them for a while, got a nice couple of little pickies of them, and then they marched off into the sunset, and so we thought, fair enough, sun's coming out, must be time to go down and get some pictures on the waterfront while the water looks nice and blue. And so I've got some lovely pictures of along the marina there.
Yep.
Yeah, and beautiful yachts and buildings down there as well. It's ancient buildings. There's this one restaurant called Italy, Eataly. So clever, I reckon.
Yeah.
But then I did spot a pier rooftop bar, and we went to go up, and they're like, no, we're not open. We are opening, but we thought it was going to rain all day, so we've got to get it ready. It will be 30 minutes, and you basically said, well, can we just wait up here?
Yeah.
And so here we are on this beautiful out on the pier, right out into the water on the rooftop bar.
Overlooking all the boats
yachts
and yachts and everything.
Yeah, and what did you say, the Trieste Bay, Gulf of Trieste?
Yeah, Gulf of Trieste.
And we got it to ourselves.
And on the right-hand side, you had the cruise ship.
Yeah, well, I'm not happy with cruise ships. I'll tell you why in a little while, but anyway.
I hadn't thought you might.
So, that was pretty impressive to have that to ourselves as well. So we sat there, and eventually we moved back to the bar area, because they had two bars and one wasn't open. And as soon as the bar opened, it got packed, didn't it?
Yeah,
Jam-packed.
Yeah, it was amazing how people, maybe the actual opening time was like at 5 o'clock. That's what I thought. I thought, how could all these people know that
it's open?
That it's opening when the staff was saying they weren't sure whether it was going to be open because of the rain. But anyway, you had a beautiful, beautiful mojito.
I did have a really nice mojito, yes. Because I saw them with all this bag full of fresh mint, and there's nothing nicer than a mojito when it's got nice fresh mint, and it was really nice. But people around us are still having those Aperol spritz. It's a real thing. You see another group of three young guys, you think they're going to have a beer, but they've all got their.
Do you know what they're made up of? I know it's Campari and.
No idea.
Yeah. Okay. That's I'll find out before the next podcast.
There we go.
Actually, what's in the spritz?
They're nice. They taste okay. I thought it was the orange liquid and prosecco, but it's not bubbly. And I thought prosecco was bubbly. But anyway, find out, because. But they have different types. They've got the main one, which is like the orange one, and then they've got like a red colour one, which apparently is more bitter.
That's the Campari.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but it's like what Leanne's saying is it's from the young people, from the 18-year-olds to much older people. Sure. They all drink it.
Yeah. Everywhere. So that was a pretty good day. Good way to finish a day. But we did stop and have dinner again, some more pasta. I think I had a pizza this time, a chicken curry pizza. Remember?
Yeah, and I had the chicken curry breast chicken, and seriously, really, really nice.
And another jug or two of wine.
Yeah, the jugs of wine. Yeah,
Yeah.
unbelievable.
I would say that I guess the crown of Trieste for tourist places or destination things to go and see would be the Miramare Castle.
Yes, they call it its national treasure.
Okay, well, there you go. And we really wanted to go and see it. You can see the castle from Trieste around the bay, and it's about 8 kilometres from town. Yeah?
Yep.
And so we decided we still had a couple of days left, but this was going to be our last day actually in Trieste, because on the next day, the Monday, we had a tour booked. But I'm going to tell you about that.
So that, yeah.
So we had this day, and we're like, well, we've got to go to the castle today.
Yeah, because I'd read a fair bit about this Miramare Castle and
Miramare.
Miramare. I've got to get the Italian accent right. And it sounded really, really impressive. So,
but because it was wet, we were going to get a bus, and then we walked straight out of our apartment, and there was a taxi, and we asked the guy how much, and he said €17. Oh, no, he said about 20, didn't he? Yeah. And so we went, yeah, perfect, let's hop in here. So we did, and he took us up to the bottom gate, I guess you'd call it. Cost us just over €17, I think it was, wasn't it?
Yeah. I was close to 20.
He was friendly enough. I was speaking a bit of Spanish/Italian. He doesn't understand any English, but he did understand a bit of Spanish. So we were able
so
to
Leanne's having a conversation with him in Spanish.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool. Yeah, but it's open 7 days a week, and it's open from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. and it costs €12.
That's to go into the castle.
That's to go into the castle. Yeah, the actual gardens is free, and they're open from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. But I reckon €12.
Yes, is great value.
Really, really good value.
Although it's €4 for the audio guide.
Sure.
And you had to leave your license there.
Yeah, but that's all okay.
Yeah, that's as a deposit. And you really like the audio guide. I get bored easily, obviously, and I just like, no, I can't. I don't want to listen, and Lyle will get all the information he needs, and I just wandered off, and I had no idea what to expect. Really, you did a bit. So do you want me to talk about it a bit, or do you want to get?
I'll give you the rough facts.
Okay.
Okay, it's an elegant ivory white building on top of a peninsula.
Yes.
Made of Istrian stone. It was built between 1856 to 1860. It features more than 22 rooms. Look, it was the thing that really stood out to me. This guy was obviously a really smart dude.
Okay, we haven't said who it is.
Sorry, the Archduke Maximilian, Max to his mates. Okay, and he was married to Charlotte, and she was the Princess of Belgium.
Yes.
Now, the things that really stood out to me was the library.
Mm-hmm. So when you do is you walk in and you follow the path around.
Yeah.
And you sort of come to a bit of a sitting room first, and he's got all. And the other thing about Maximilian, he was like a world traveller, wasn't he? And he collected a whole lot of stuff. So you start to see the bits of furniture and artwork and things that he collected. But then, as Lyle said, you come into the library, and I've got some great photos of that. And it looks like a castle out of a fairy tale. In the library, I sent a video of it to my daughter, and she said it looks like a movie set. It's got the great big huge wooden globe sitting, right there, and then every wall is lined with floor to ceiling books, and in between the book cabinets, there's massive artworks. And then, of course, the windows, which are big arch windows, almost floor to ceiling, with, like to die for views out over the water. Like, it's a very impressive room, isn't it? The library. And then you go through into more of Charlotte's area, and you see because there's wallpaper and the furnishings. You see that change, and she liked pineapples. They had this thing with pineapples because he was a botanist, and she liked the blue colour. So her rooms are sort of decorated in the rich sort of teal blue colours, and she had an ancient piano, and she had a room for doing artwork, and it's just so glamorous and beautiful. And once again, the floor-to-ceiling windows were spectacular.
Yeah, well, what you were saying before, he was the commander of the Navy in the Navy, and he actually circumvented the world in 1857 to 1859.
Yeah, and he particularly spent a fair bit of time around Brazil, and they've got his art, his drawings and paintings of the flowers and plants,
Yeah.
and on display, and they were incredible, like really, detailed and amazing.
Well, in the garden, remember, there was those glass houses,
Yeah.
and they were built, and they look in fabulous condition even now, even though there's nothing in them. But the actual
because
glass houses themselves, they were there for him to study botany.
Yeah. Okay. And so, and then you come across the main one, one of the main bedrooms, and it has little secret doors. One goes into a chapel and one goes into a sitting room, and it's all the original furnishings, and it's elaborate and beautiful, and every room has a view, a bit like our place at home. And then they go through and they've got all these artwork on display, which is really cool. And then a big sitting room, with a pool, an ancient pool table in it, and and then you can go upstairs, right?
Yeah, but as you're walking around, what about the size of the windows?
Oh yeah, massive, floor to ceiling.
Yeah, and the
woodwork around them.
Oh,
the detail.
beautiful!
And the
Absolutely
ceilings.
beautiful. Yeah.
Oh my gosh! And then you got the beautiful big staircase with the the balustrades carved in wood, and there's statues all the way up. And then you think your breath's been taken away, downstairs. You come into that room, which is the massive chandelier, the dining room, and I have the most amazing photo of that on our website. The huge table, just imagine kings and queens and the sitting around it. And the thing about this castle, and not that I've been to many, but I just felt you could feel people living in this place.
Yeah.
It didn't feel like a museum or on show. You
No.
could actually touch the tables, and you could imagine them having people to dinner in this massive big room. And all of a sudden, I know you're going to talk about this, the decor changed to red, the bright red, and on the wallpaper and the curtains, if you look, there's pineapples again, but there's also the symbol of Mexico, which is an eagle with a snake in its mouth on a cactus, which we learned all about when we went to Mexico, didn't we?
Sure.
But why did he have that?
Because he was actually made the
By
emperor
Napoleon.
By Napoleon III. Now,
Right.
it's not the little short bloke. It was the King of France, and he was offered to be the Emperor of Mexico,
Right.
which he took on, and unfortunately, he was actually executed by the Mexicans
Yeah.
about 6 years after he'd finished building Miramare.
Miramare Castle.
So
it must have been a bit eccentric, maybe, but
oh, absolutely. But the thing I loved most about it was in one particular area of the castle, it's all Japanese and Chinese furniture and colours and
pots.
oh my
pottery.
goodness, it was beautiful. I'd hate to know. I'd love to know how much the antiques in that castle would be worth, because they were magnificent.
He was obviously collected stuff as well, and he had his own little what do you call it? A church, little set up as well with a few pews, and he had
a chapel.
Chapel, thank you. That's the one I wasn't for. And he had someone paint.
It's very religious, as you can tell.
He had someone paint the Last Supper, a copy of that on the thing at the front of the chapel, whatever that thing is. And then also the same artist then did very detailed paintings of the 12 disciples all the way around as well. And then they've got this, red curtains with all these Mexican symbols on them. It's quite bizarre.
He was actually the younger brother of the Emperor of Austria, which is Franz Joseph. Yeah. And there was a bit of, conspiracy theory that Archduke would one day basically wipe out his brother, but that never happened.
And then just to finish on the castle,
Sorry.
yeah, that's okay. I know you love your history. You get excited.
I
You
do.
should see
I
his
do.
hands
I
are
love
going
it.
and everything. There is a wing of the castle, which is, when someone was another duke, I think, from the 1930s, where built like this extra wing, and it's furnished completely different. It's in blue colours. It's very sparse. It's very like it's nothing as impressive to look at, but it is actually set in time, like, isn't it? It's like, you could walk in there and everything is just like it was. They had the young children, so they've got the furniture that they had in the room set up for children, the smaller desks and things, the bathrooms and the toilets, all that stuff. Yeah.
Really
Really
it's sort
impressive.
of, I think you appreciate the contrast.
Yeah, exactly. So the Miramare Castle, I can see why it's their national treasure. As I said, the jewel in the crown, it is absolutely stunningly beautiful. My mouth was wide open nearly the whole way around. Yeah, see on that.
Yeah, I think, and as you said, I think we just finished seeing the Doge Palace in Venice, and that was like just mind blowing. But because of the fact that this was
Someone's home.
This was someone's home. This is where they lived. And then, obviously we're going to talk about the gardens.
We certainly are. Oh, I do love me a good garden. And I have to say, the gardens at Miramare Castle are beautiful and free to wander around it at your leisure. The first time we went there, it was raining, but it didn't take away from the beauty of it, did it?
Yeah, we were walking around. I was holding the umbrella so that Leanne could take photos with the phone. That's true.
The rain just got heavier and heavier. But, there were the good side of that was there weren't so many people out taking photos. So I got, some nice ones without too many people in them. But it began back in, what was it, 1856?
1856, Work began on the gardens. And a lot of the garden plants and shrubs and all that sort of thing weren't local. Were they old Archduke Max? We'll just call him Max.
Yeah, Max
from now
on.
Max
Maxie.
brought back plants from all his travels, and he obviously was eccentric. And from what I can gather, he was a bit of a pain in the ass, actually, but because he wanted things just. And anyway, the bottom line is, at the end of the gardens are spectacular.
What is it, 22 hectares?
22 hectares, yeah.
And some of it's just quite natural, beautiful big trees, and there's paths that wander around. There's, I know every shade of green sounds crazy, but, especially when they're a bit wet, there's dark green and light green, and there's little sort of pergolas all the way around that you can wander as well. And then you've got like the main sort of garden, which is in front of the little cafe, and it's very Italian looking. I know it's got some exotic plants in it, but then it's got like the big balustrades around the top with the terracotta pots with plants, and then the big staircase that goes down, about 3 tiers all the way down to the water.
Where the jetty is, and and at the end of the jetty there's a sculpture of a sphinx. So you look at
big staircases with pots everywhere, and green grass, and little bridges and pergolas with wisteria. Oh, it's one of my favourite plants, and it's nearly the end of the wisteria season, but I managed to get some beautiful photos of some wisteria there. And then from there you go up to the top of the garden where their original castle was that they lived in before the big one was built.
Yes, that's called the Castelletto.
Okay.
Castelletto.
Great, Castelletto. I thought that you said Casteldo.
No.
Castello, is it? Castello. Does it mean small castle?
No, Castello.
Castello, yeah.
Castelletto.
Castelletto.
Let's get it right. Yeah,
Sorry.
So that was built for them while the main castle was being built. There's, the greenhouses, which we talked about earlier. There's also stables. And
there's big pots of, bright pink hydrangeas up there, and then you can walk around the edge. This is like the top of the cliff now we're at, and you can look down, and now there's, yachts and luxury houses and things to look over. but back in the day, I don't imagine they were there.
Mm.
And then there's the cannons that they've got.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and they weren't to fight people; they were actually
To celebrate
your birthdays and anniversaries and stuff,
Yeah.
and they'd fire them. And from that little ledge where the cannons are is where I got the best photo of the castle, I think. I think it's just, it looks amazing, even if I do say so myself. And go to the website, you'll find it.
Well, look, and looking at those cannons, it was like they're obviously very old cannons, but they're so well looked after.
Yeah.
They look like they were built yesterday.
They do.
They were beautiful.
Yeah. So, and we had a little coffee there in the little coffee shop, and and then it just started to rain and rain and rain and rain. And we had our raincoats on, but even I started to feel even wet through my raincoat. I wasn't, but it was just so wet. And we were going to get the bus back, but we decided that we would get another taxi. So we went into the little tourist office, and the lovely lady there, she's so nice and helpful to people here, aren't they? She called us a taxi. It took her a while, and she said, just wait here, it'll come up here and get you. And it was a young guy, and he brought us all the way back to our front door, which was really nice. But this time it cost us €26, so not quite sure what happened there.
Well, I think the fact that we actually, the lady had to call him on the phone, which meant he had to come out.
Service fee.
It's probably a service fee. But amazing,
what?
His machine didn't work, so he wanted cash.
Oh, man, everyone wants cash here, don't they? And I had to come upstairs because I didn't have enough cash. So, So, that's a hint. Carry a bit of cash with you, because that's what
you
else.
You never know when you're going to need it. Because
the water taxi in Venice was cash.
Cash. Yeah, the gondola was cash.
Cash.
Yeah. So the cynic in me sort of tends to think that maybe it's a tax thing, but I don't know. But So anyway, we got the cab back, and then we went out and had some lunch.
It was a late lunch, really, wasn't it?
It was about 2:00, 2:30.
Yeah, at a lovely little restaurant called Loop.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we met George.
Yeah, he's a guy from Brazil, was he? And he lived Greece.
No, Greece.
And he'd lived in Sydney for 8 years.
Yep.
So he had great English, and we had a nice chat to him.
Yeah, and his mum made all the desserts, and we did try out the desserts, and they were beautiful. And Janetta, or as you said, Janet, she was the lady that looked after us. She was great, fabulous smile.
We had nice
and
food.
Really, the food was really good. Yeah, I had teriyaki salmon.
And I had, because he was making pancakes, and they did savoury ones. So I had smoked salmon and avocado sort of pancakes, which were delicious. And then we just decided we weren't going to go out for dinner because it was still raining, and it was miserable. So we just bought some pasta and cooked that at home, didn't we?
But we did not to forget. We did have a couple of glasses of the Pinot Nero.
Yeah, red wine.
Yeah. And seriously, it was beautiful. The wine was really good.
Yeah. So then, early night, because we'd been out all day, and I'm going to tell you, we were supposed to. On the Monday. Now, I booked this tour months ago and paid for it months ago, and it was confirmed months ago. I got my tickets printed off and everything, because, as Lyle said earlier, Trieste is very close to Slovenia, and I booked a day trip being picked up at 8 o'clock, and we're going to go into Ljubljana, the capital of Slovenia, and then to Lake Bled. And it wasn't cheap, but we paid for it because I just really wanted to go. And I got an email on the Saturday to say, could we change the tour to Tuesday? And I said, no, I'm sorry, we have to do it Monday, or we could do it Sunday. They got back to me and said, no, sorry, we can't do it. And because on the Monday, because they had 2 cruise ships coming in, didn't they?
Yes.
And I was a bit annoyed about that. I'm not going to go on about it, though, because I've got over it. But suffice to say, they told me that they couldn't do the tour for us because there were 2 cruise ships coming in, and that the drivers would be going to be taking the passengers from the cruise ship and not us. And I did write back and said I thought that was a bit unreasonable, but, what can you do? And all day there wasn't a cruise ship came in. So,
well, I'm just looking out from our window now, and there's still no cruise ships.
I know. So anyway, it's the way it was. We didn't get to go to Slovenia, disappointed, yes. But as I said, we moved on. They refunded me, and they were very easy to deal with. So that's
Yeah, I
great.
reckon it took you about 48 hours, though, to get over it.
I'm still talking about it. Aren't
Yeah,
I?
yeah, you were.
But and one of the other reasons I was a bit cheesed off was because it was the only day where there was no rain forecast and the sun was out.
Yeah.
But we didn't sort of sit around moping for long. We decided we needed to go walking, and so we were going to walk along the beautiful waterfront that we saw on a hop-on bus that we drove past also in the taxi to get to Miramare Castle, right?
Sure.
And so we headed off, and it's about 2 or 3 kilometres until you get sort of out of town past the train station and actually get to the waterfront. Or maybe even a bit further than that. But once you get there, it's so worth it, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was beautiful. It really was.
And the sun was out, and so we stopped and we had a coffee right in the little park area, and it was very local, wasn't it?
Yeah, I reckon it was the best coffee we've had in Trieste.
So yummy,
and all the coffee in Trieste, honestly, has been beautiful. True.
And so we walk out of the cafe, and we're right on the water, and there's this walkway that's it's all cobblestones. It's not new cobblestones. I don't know why they thought to do that, because it's not easy to walk along, but it's a really wide walkway, and it just goes on for kilometres. And the sun was out, the water was calm, it was so blue, and the whole way you can see Miramare Castle.
So it's Miramare Castle is in the distance. Well, I tell you how good Miramare Castle is. We walked all the way there, the 8 kilometres in the sunshine, because Lan thought that she could get some better pics that day because of the sunshine. And seriously, it was worth the walk.
It was worth the walk, and I did get some nice shots. Yeah, I certainly did. And we wandered around the garden a bit more, which is what I wanted to do. But there are a lot more people in the garden this time. So,
a lot of school kids.
Yeah, there was so many school children. That's right. And Instagram influencers doing their videos and photos and things. It was quite amusing, really, wasn't it? And then, though, because we'd seen it all the day before, but it did look a bit different in the rain, and we did explore a bit more, and especially around there's like a walkway around the actual castle out over the water.
Yep.
And we didn't do that the day before because it was raining so heavy. So that was beautiful, and we just stood and watched for quite a while, didn't we?
Yeah.
And then we decided we were going to catch the local bus back, and that's sort of a bit of a walk to where you catch the bus.
It's about 20 minutes walk to where the bus stop is from the castle, because it's only a thin road to the castle. The buses, I don't think, certainly the local buses don't do it. The tour buses do, but not the local bus. But it turned out we couldn't find the bus stop at one stage, so I asked the gardener, and he was so friendly. And again, we've got to reiterate, all the people that we've dealt with in Trieste have been fabulously friendly.
Yeah, they've been really nice.
Anyway, we worked it out, and at one stage, Lan thought she'd got her card caught in the machine, but anyway, it was €1.40 each.
Yeah.
So that was a lot less expensive than the taxis, but
Well, there was no rain, and.
Well, that's right. And look, even if we probably had realised about the local buses, we still probably would have caught the cabs.
Yeah.
It's just a pain in the arse of how wet it was.
You've said that twice this time. I'm sorry for lots of language. Is this a family show?
Is it though?
Then we came back into town, and we got dropped off a couple of stops probably before we could have, and then we just walked that last little bit. And I wanted to have. Thought we'd earned something to eat and drink, didn't we?
Yes, we went to Bivium restaurant, and we were served by Stefano, and I had a curry chicken risotto, and you had, what was the pasta you had?
Yeah, just bacon and tomato. Yeah, it was beautiful.
Well, and look, the dishes,
they're not big. The meals aren't big.
Lunch or dinner. No.
No.
The meals aren't big, but that food was fabulous.
Yeah.
You had fabulous background music going.
You knew it was all your era, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was all
Sam
my
Cooke.
era. Sam Cooke, yeah, and a bit of disco. There was the 70s disco.
But we were both a bit tired after that, so came home. You did a bit of a workout. I had tried to have an afternoon nap, but with the guys working next door, it wasn't quite conducive to sleep. But we wanted, the reason I wanted to have a bit of a rest is because we've been going to bed so early, and like sort of waiting for it to get dark, and we decided Lyle sort of said, we should be going and have a look at the buildings, at night when they're lit up, and it doesn't get dark till about 8:45, 9 o'clock. But gosh, that's late, isn't it? Hey.
Mm-hmm. So if anybody's expecting to find out about the nightlife, you listen to the wrong podcast.
In Trieste, anyway. Who knows what could have happened next?
Sure.
So we did that, and so we went out a bit later this time, and we found another little restaurant on the Grand Canal, and we sort of were out on this little pontoon, really, weren't we?
Yes, and the restaurant's called Bianco.
Okay, and the little pontoon rocked every time someone walked on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but once again, I had gnocchi. My daughter-in-law Talia would be so proud of me. She loves gnocchi, and it was like little mouthfuls of heaven. They were divine. And you had swordfish.
Yeah, I had grilled swordfish, and of course I finished off with the tiramisu.
Right, and a couple of jugs of wine. And when we say jugs, they're like 500ml jugs, right?
Yeah.
And every time they brought the wine out, it was in a different sort of jug,
Yeah.
And one of them looked like it could have been from a hospital room.
Anyway, it didn't matter. It was the same amount, and it did the same job.
And then and so then we wandered slowly back up to the piazza, the main piazza, d'Italia, or Unita d'Italia. And Lyle was right. And it was spectacular as the lights came on. And I've got some really nice panoramic videos and stunning photos of the beautiful buildings at night. And then we came back past the canal, and because it was a bit darker then, and I got some lovely reflective sort of pictures, and back up to the St. Antonio's church, beautiful, just amazing. It was really worth it, wasn't it?
Yeah, apart from those industrial bins in front of the church. But you're hoping that they won't come out in the photo.
Well, I might not put that one in, but thanks for pointing that out to everybody. That's the sort of guy you are, hey? Don't let the truth get in the way of a good story. Yeah, there was, as Lyle was saying, there's a beautiful photo back up the Grand Canal to the church. And there's a big row of bins, so I'm going to see if I can, put that photo in and see if you can find them. Good on you. And then we wandered on home, didn't we?
Yep.
Because we've been watching a couple of movies on Netflix, so that's been nice on the laptop. So just to get some English TV happening.
Yep.
So that's the end, basically, of our days in Trieste. We love it. It's a beautiful city. You fell in love with it when we first walked around. You were just like, look at this place. And one of my other kids that I sent photos to at home, they said it looks very fancy, and that's a very good way to describe it.
Yeah, very, very stylish vibe.
Yeah, exactly. It's very, very, it's like us, very stylish, see or no. Before we tell you where our favourite place to have a wine is, and that's given Lyle some notice, even though we do it every podcast, we often forget that we're going to do it at the end, don't we? I'd like to just give a shout out to a guy called Nigel. Now, in our podcast where we talk about our Italy plans, we ask people to, maybe think about rating and sending us a review, because, we haven't asked, and, it really helps us, other people find our podcast. And, once again, I really ask you, we know that most of you are listening on Apple and Spotify, and you go to your podcast app and either like or share it. Just be awesome. It just really helps us. And Nigel did do that for us, didn't he?
Yeah.
And he wrote a really lovely review, and I'm just going to read it out to you, the message he sent to me. And it said, "Hey, Leanne and Lyle, just listened to your episode 51, and that episode was all about planning our Italy trip, and thought I would do my first ever review of any podcast, because I have simply loved your podcast and think what you guys do is so unique and so engaging." Thanks, Nigel. I'm quite new to podcasts, but with a pending trip to northern Spain and northern Italy, I stumbled on your Spain podcast. I've changed our itinerary around and can't wait to go to the places you have shared with us next month. I mean, how cool is that? We've been, So imagine my excitement and surprise when I now find out that you are also in Northern Italy 3 weeks before us. So I can't wait to hear what you've got to say. So keep up the great work. Seriously, it's a brilliant show you put together. Cheers, Nigel. Well, cheers to you, Nigel.
Thanks, Nigel. That really warmed our hearts.
Yeah, it made our day. You know, like it's a lot of work goes into doing the podcast, and it is a hobby, and we love doing it, and we're determined to try and get one out every week, even while we're traveling. And it just, some days that you hear crickets and other days, you get something like that, and it's really worth it. So have you ever thought about leaving us a review, or like Nigel, he just sent us a message on Instagram? Please do. That would be awesome, wouldn't it, Niall?
Yep.
Okay. So let's finish up in Trieste. Oh, can I just say one thing that is a bit disappointing about Trieste? The only disappointment is it's now a cruise ship port, and I think that's, I hope that doesn't ruin the atmosphere of the place. So we'll see. It's because the ships can't go to Venice anymore, which is good for Venice, and maybe good for Trieste. We'll see what happens. Yeah. So I should have gone first. Damn, I know what you're going to say. Pooh. Where was your favourite place to have a vino or a birre?
It was obviously the Pier rooftop bar.
Damn it. It was, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was spectacular. Yeah. And I'm right, on the Italian Riviera. Seriously, it was cool.
Yeah, it was really nice, and they had good music playing and everything too. It was very
very
modern.
The background music was pretty.
Actually, if you looked around, it was obviously it's a young city, Trieste, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Lots of young people about. Yeah. Well, I'll go somewhere different. I'm going to say my first jug of wine on the Grand Canal, and my first feed of pasta in Trieste, just because I've just felt it was so Italian. It was very unique, and I just really enjoyed that experience of sitting there, outside and just enjoying the atmosphere. Yeah.
Yeah, we don't normally rate the food, I suppose. Well, I suppose we do during the podcast, but the food here, everywhere we've been, has been fantastic, and it's only been exceeded by how friendly everybody is.
Yes, so definitely put Trieste on your list, especially if you're up in this part of Italy. And definitely, as you said, the people are friendly. But I'm not even a pasta girl. At home, it's the last thing I want to order. But I just can't wait to have my pasta fix for the day.
Yeah. Now, just what I've done, which I don't normally do, but I worked out what it costs us basically for food, alcohol, transport, all inclusive. It's about $235 Australian. That's a day for both of us. So about $235. As I said, all the meals, booze and transport and tour costs, entry to everything. Yeah, which I don't reckon's too bad.
No, but we don't do it budget wise either. Like we got 2 taxis that we really didn't need to get.
Oh yeah, well there's for nearly €50 when we caught the bus. It was a euro and 40 cents.
We could have bought some, not eaten out as much, or not had dessert every night, but we have.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you for listening to our episode all about Trieste. I'm sure if you've got this far, we've encouraged you to actually come and visit, because it's a beautiful city. And we will see you in the next podcast somewhere from the beautiful Italian countryside.
Ciao, babies.
Arrivederci.